Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Arthritis Consumer Experts, Arthritis at Home on Motivation Monday. We're so happy to be here to share with you episode 4 of the 4-part series with Dr. Jasmin Ma. She's going to lead us into our 4th and final snack of exercise. That has really been the focus of this 4-part series. But let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Ma. She's the postdoctoral fellow at Arthritis Research Canada and has a passion for helping people of all abilities get active. Dr. Ma is funded by the Michael Smith Foundation for Health Research, the Arthritis Society, and the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. Her research and experiences are as a registered kinesiologist and certified inclusive fitness trainer, focus on physical activity behavioral science and integrated knowledge translation, specifically working with people with rheumatoid arthritis, like myself, spinal cord injury, and other chronic conditions or disabilities, all with a view of starting or staying active. We could not be happier to welcome you back, Dr. Ma. You've been so incredible. Your previous 3 episodes have gone like gangbusters. Everyone's been excited. The feedback's been terrific. So thank you so much and welcome back. We're going to turn it over to you for our final 4-part series.
I want to leave you with a kind of a best bang for your buck. We're always thinking about, what's the minimum that we can do. So today I'm going to go through just one exercise. And I'm going to add a little wink there as one exercise. And then I'm going to go through just a bit of Cheryl and I are going to have a bit of a chit chat around whatever some key exercise take homes that we can have. So for today, I actually am going to call on my assistant because we're going to be working with our single piece of equipment today, which will be our resistance exercise band. Because I don't have a door handle or anything sturdy next to me in this, in my very fancy video setup here, my partner is going to suffice as our door handle. So the one exercise that we're going to do today is a bit of a split here, and unfortunately he's too tall to fit in the screen here, so he'll be the man with the mustache is going to take our exercise band as our anchor. So if you're looking for an anchor that isn't your partner, you can use things like a door handle. If you have any sort of bars that are stable, do make sure that's the key here, that you are anchoring this piece of equipment to something stable. Now, if you don't have resistance exercise band, sometimes you'll hear it called TheraBand. I've even seen things used like pantyhose, any sort of stretching material. That being said, these pieces of equipment are really inexpensive. You can find them online. You can order them for $5. So a really great piece of equipment that if you had to invest in any sort of equipment, I would recommend it to be a resistance exercise band because you can do just about any exercise with them. Okay. Now another thing that I'm going to point out here is if you have difficulty with grip, so holding on to this resistance exercise band, obviously not a whole lot to hold on to here. Another option would be to kind of loop the resistance exercise band at the end there. So you can kind of, insert the hand and not require any sort of grip. Okay, so just a couple things to keep in mind there about grip. Okay, so the single exercise, the wink single exercise here, it's technically 2, but we're going to pair them together. So option 1 would be to separate the 2 exercises. So, we all have, I'm guilty of this myself, this rounding of the shoulder, and we've done these exercises in week 1. So if you want to, put this back into the context of a full program, you can take a look at week 1's exercises, but to get those shoulders to sit down and back, we're going to go through a row here. So you have the option, if you'd like, I'm just going to flip this. Thank you, mystery mustache man. So over here, your arms are about just below shoulder height, and you're pulling back and squeezing those shoulders down and back. Pull back, squeeze those shoulders down back. So option 1, we're separating them, right? And then into the second movement, you're into your squat. I'm just going to come back a little further here. Right? You can start it as a quarter squat, right? Thinking about pretending you've got, you know, a toilet or your chair sitting behind you. If you need to stabilize with a counter or something stable, that's fine as well, right? You can go into a quarter squat or you can go into a full squat. Okay, so option one, you separate the movements. You've got your full, your row, right? Into a quarter squat or your full squat. Okay, so there's option one. Option two, we transition between the two. So we're either here alternating between the row and that quarter squat. Or option three, same thing, but we're going into that full squat. You're here for the row and your full squat. Something to keep in mind, it's really easy to just let yourself hang back and let your partner or your support do the work. Try and maintain that stability yourself, right? So that's option, I believe we're at 3. Option 4 here. So instead of alternating while we're standing and doing the row, we'll do that row in the squat position. So from the squat, you go into your row and back up. From the squat, go into your row and back up. Okay? So go through those one more time. We'll go through about 10 to 15 repetitions each. So option 1, separate the movements. Just here for the row. Option 2, or rather before we move on to option 2, we've got the squat that you can do separately. You can use a counter to stabilize, or choose to what depth you want to take that squat. Okay. Option 2, you throw in the alternating in the row, quarter squat, row, quarter squat, squat, row. Option 3, we could take that alternating, but we take it into a full squat. So we've got our row, full squat. Okay. And then option 4. So we come in, instead of starting with that row, we're into our squat and take that row. And again, you can modify the height, the depth in which you want to take that squat. Thanks, mustache. So I like that exercise in particular. I know we've gone through the squat in week 1, but if I was going to pick one lower body exercise and one upper body exercise, it's going to be the row, particularly for the reasons that not only are we engaging those back muscles that help us to fix that posture a little bit, we're also engaging our biceps as well, right? Important for, you know, picking things up. And that squat, it's so important for anything like getting out of bed, you know, getting off the bathroom toilet, right? It's like really a core movement that we need to do to maintain our independence. So if you had to pick it, that's my wink face, one exercise. There's 4 options for the row to squat.
Where I thought we could end our conversation for now, anyway, for this series of 4 episodes, Jasmin, is if you were to kind of close your eyes and you had 1,000 people like me sitting in front of you, and you wanted to sort of impart on us 2 things. You wanted to give us the gift of a diamond and the gift of a platinum. What would those 2 things be for you?
Yeah, so I think a good starting place is to think about what the guidelines are. And then I'll kind of go into the diamond and the platinum of what I think about those guidelines. So the guidelines recommend that we do 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity. So moderate to vigorous aerobic activity. That's kind of that cardio. Right? It could be things like walking, going for a run. You could, or using a rowing erg, swimming, those types of things. And then strengthening exercises twice a week. So for example, any of the sort of, what we did today is an example of a strengthening exercise. If you're using weights, if you're using your body weight, if you're using the resistance band, machines, etc. Those are our strengthening activities, so twice a week. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that we need to start there, because most of us aren't starting at 150 minutes for strength training twice a week, and that's okay, right? We can consider that as the benchmark for where we want to be down the road, but it's okay if we're starting at a lower intensity or, less frequency, less time. That's absolutely fine. But just to acknowledge that we can work our way up. That doesn't mean we need to start quite there. So that's, pearl number one, I guess, would be, we know what the guidelines are, right? 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a week, or moderate to vigorous aerobic activity, and strengthening exercises twice a week. But we don't have to start there. We can work our way up. That's pearl number one. Pearl number two is when we're at the point where we're ready for that intensity, and for the most part, I would say everyone is capable of doing this intensity, that minimum moderate intensity threshold. So you might start in the light intensity, work your way up to moderate, and absolutely heavy intensity is acceptable when you're ready for it. So that moderate intensity is, I find, the hardest concept to understand. So what does moderate intensity mean? So when I'm educating around what moderate intensity means, if we're doing aerobic activity, I'm thinking about, can I still have a conversation, but I wouldn't be able to sing a song? So we call it the talk test, right? So you and I could have a conversation, but if I want to break out my Justin Bieber, it's just, I'm going to have to be taking my breaths in between, right? So moderate intensity, if you're better with numbers, I usually say that's around a 5 to 7 out of 10. Right? You're working at a 5 to 7 out of 10 or somewhat hard. Okay, so that's for the aerobic side. We can use that same scale in terms of numbers for your strength training, so 5 to 7 out of 10. But I might think of it as, would I still be able to do a few more repetitions at the end of my set, but I wouldn't be able to keep going forever, right? So if it feels like, you could do this all day long, it's probably too light, or you need to up the volume or up the number of repetitions. So that's, I think, an important point here is that when you're ready to really aim for exceeding that threshold of moderate intensity, that's where we really start to see the benefits. That being said, doing something is better than nothing, but let's really start to aim for that moderate intensity.
Yeah, those are two fabulous pearls, or the diamond with the platinum. I think probably one of the most difficult things for us as a community, Dr. Ma, is understanding what is moderate intensity, what is high intensity. And we know there's now lots of research that suggests when you're protecting your joints and doing it when you're ready, when you're prepared to do high intensity exercise, that even that is safe. It doesn't exacerbate disease activity.
That's right.
And so the biggest question we get here at ACE is, well, how do I do that? So I love the guideline you've given about talking. And I ride a bike and I go to indoor cycling classes in the winter when the weather's not so good and I'm a little fearful of falling. The biggest lesson or pearl I took away from that is when they say we're working on this interval at a rate of perceived effort of, and I'm like, well, how do we figure out what that is for us? So one, it's different for every single person. And two, this talking thing is really important. So if I can carry on a conversation just like this, I'm not working in a moderate intensity level. If I can belt out, not that you would want me to belt out a Justin Bieber song, I am probably not working at a high enough intensity if the prescription is to go at a high intensity or a medium intensity. So I think that talking guideline is really good. And the other thing I've learned was starting is sometimes the most important thing. Just starting. You can't finish an exercise routine or regimen unless you start. So starting is like 90% of the battle for a lot of people. And so one, if you're able to start, give yourself a big hurrah that you've started. And even if you can't make it all the way through, again, just showing up, getting the TheraBand out or the exercise band out, getting your tights on or your loose fitting gym clothes and the exercise mat out. That's starting, to me anyway. And I think people who live with a chronic disease, especially one that involves their mobility, sometimes that's really, really hard. And you point out how the squat is so integral to all of the things or many of the things we're doing in our daily lives. If in closing, Dr. Ma, you think about looking forward in your area of research in particular, what are you most excited about?
I think we have a lot of, information around, what the guidelines are. Like, we know that, if you're able to talk but not sing a song, right, there's moderate intensity. But how do we do it in a way that, one, either healthcare providers know how to prescribe and educate on physical activity, and two, how do we find something that folks want to do for, this is a lifestyle behavior. It has to be something that we want to continue for the rest of our lives and not just, for the month-long period that we're supervised for. So I think, I guess it kind of coincides with a third pearl that I'll leave you with. My predictions on where I think research is heading towards is that the best prescription is the one that we can stick to, right? And, eventually we want to get to that point of, doing exercise that is effective for achieving health benefits. So reaching that threshold of intensity and frequency and time, and but also, what does that look like? Like, how do we get there? It doesn't have to be in a gym, right? It can be playing with your kids, having a dance party, exploring, hiking, right? It doesn't have to be this, arduous look at, this is extra work for me to do.
I think that's one thing that COVID-19 has taught us. We have learned to exercise in our kitchens.
Yeah.
Using our partners as a TheraBand holder.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's, the pearl there is that, think about the exercise prescription that you want to do, that you can do sustainably. And what I think that means for research is being able to think about how we can address those. For example, my research is in rheumatoid arthritis, how we can address RA specific barriers. Like, we get a lot of talk about, okay, we know what to do, but what happens if we're in pain? What happens if we're in a flare? What happens if my memory is feeling foggy that day? Really kind of looking at more of these personalized, individualized prescriptions or ways to figure out, what is the prescription for Cheryl, or what is the prescription for Jasmin? Because we're all unique, and especially with arthritis, we have some really individual considerations.
We really appreciate you tuning in to episode 4 of this special 4-part series. We encourage you to come back again on Wellness Wednesday. And then after that, on Facts Friday, we'll be continuing to feature 3 episodes of Arthritis at Home per week until the end of May. And then we are going to switch it up a little bit and bring you something new over the summer months. So we appreciate very much you tuning in and look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, be safe.